Welcome back again. Another video. We've got the inaugural MMA podcast. Who better to bring on than the king of combat? This guy would watch any fight under the sun. Car MMA is his latest thing he's been telling me. I got Jason Murphy with me. How are we, Jason?
I'm good, brother. You?
Yeah, really well. Thank you, mate. Lots to uncover from last night or / this morning in our geographical location. So coffee to get us through this one, but yeah, we'll go with Garry MVP, probably the most hyped fight outside of the main event. It's fair to say, especially on these shores. A lot of interest for Ian Garry and Michael Venom Page. Fair to say that the both of them carried the promotion. I think at the press conference fight week, they kind of got it going. Both big personalities in their own right. Both can talk. I predicted there'd be a slight stalemate element to it, as there is a lot of times when two strikers tend to fight against each other. But there was slight drama in it. Obviously, Ian Garry at the end of the first round, it looked like he may have locked in a rear naked choke. But he did get the cards in the end. All three were 29-28 to Ian Machado Garry. What did you think about the fight?
I mean, it was as expected. I think we spoke about it in messages previously. I was expecting it to go a little bit like Till and Wonderboy. Two sort of karate points, wide stance, similar to Connor, sort of wide karate stance. Michael Venom Page is a blitz point fighter. Garry is predominantly a karate style point fighter. I know he's training out a shooter box now with Damian Maia, and he did get a chance to sort of lock in a rear naked in the first. I think he got a heel hook in the second, but you could see from both of them that Garry didn't really know how to progress his position, and MVP didn't really know what to do. So when he had the sort of the body lock on, he didn't turn into it to put pressure on the leg to sort of create angles for himself to escape. So it was sort of, they sort of cancelled each other out. And I think other than the grappling, I sort of had MVP winning on points. I thought he was getting the better of the exchanges. He was landing the cleaner shots, and then he just got taken down. I think the two takedowns were the difference in the fight for me.
Yeah, definitely. It was an interesting one to score, for sure, because there's no doubt for me that MVP was having the more success on the feet. Probably should have seen it outside looking in before the fight that Ian Garry, he is the more well-rounded martial artist. I think that's fair to say. Michael Venom Page has his skill set and he's incredibly good at that. But, in the sense of ground game, that's most definitely not his forte. Garry realized, I believe, quite early on that he's not going to be able to strike with this man. The speed advantage and the power advantage all day long was with Michael Venom Page in that fight. So he adapted his tactics. I think, Garry had a fairly dominant round one with what was going on with the submission attempts. I think MVP clearly won the second round. I think it was all tied up going into round three, which was definitely an interesting round score. Dana said at the post-fight press conference that he scored the fight a draw, which is quite a rarity in a 3-rounder, to be fair. So he's given a split round somewhere in there, which I assume he probably gave the last round a split.
I think it was the third one. I think MVP was sort of winning the striking engage. When they were engaging striking, MVP was sort of catching him on the way in, catching him on the way out. And I think there was like 2 minutes left, and that's when Garry got hold of him, got him back, and I thought he was going to try shake him off. I think the commentary was sort of saying if he'd have leant further forward, he could have shook him off. But MVP's not a grappler. Things that grapplers and wrestlers and jiu-jitsu players do naturally and instinctually, when you've got to think about it and then consider your position, your opponent's position, it's too late. And I think, you don't see many 3-round draws. I can't remember seeing a 3-round draw, if I'm honest, but I wouldn't have been disappointed if they'd have given it.
It didn't feel like anyone really went out there, ran away and won the fight, to be honest, especially with, the talk of Garry, beforehand saying he was going to come out and really dominate Michael Venom Page.
I don't think Garry comes out of this with any additional sort of star power for me. The things that he dismissed from Page is too old. You've been fighting in the B leagues, and I'm going to end you. And I know it's bravado and it's to sell a fight, but I expected him to up it a level. second and third and sort of pull away.
Yeah.
He didn't do that for me, and he's now calling out the likes of Shavkat and the champs and stuff like that. For me, he's nowhere near that yet. Nowhere near that.
Definitely interesting to see what's next, because even at the post-fight presser, he was coming out and saying, I told you all it's going to be Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, John Jones, and Ian Machado Garry. But, in my opinion, you can't really be making statements. Like, if you flatline MVP in the first round, you have all the momentum in the world behind you, and you can start, ultimately, the guy's 15-0. And he's undefeated in the UFC, and he's fought some good caliber opponents, and all credit to him for that. But the talk of the I think he mentioned in Fight Week he wants International Fight Week this time next year, so a year from now he wants to be looking at a title fight. But for me, he's got to go through two really high caliber, tough opponents to get a title shot. I don't. If he fights and beats Shavkat Rakhmonov, then fair enough, you're in line for a title shot.
Yeah.
But for me right now, he's at least one massive win, but two wins at least before. And to be honest with you, right now, you pit him in against Leon Edwards. I don't like that for Ian Garry in the slightest.
Nah, not unless he catches him with a flipping question mark kick out of the blue, or catches him coming in with sort of an elbow, and Leon takes his eye off the ball. As you said, I'm in agreement. He needs a statement win. For me, still hasn't got one. I know he's got names on his record, Jeff Neal and whatnot, and now MVP, who is a name. He's a well-recognised world-class fighter. But he's fighting these, and he's just doing enough to win. For me, he's not backing up. He's not walking the walk. He's talking the talk, but he's not walking the walk.
A lot of these wins are decision wins too. We all know that fans and hype comes with knockouts, and you're fast tracked up to title shots and things like that if you're laying people out. And ultimately, like Jeff Neal, same as MVP, and ultimately he's got the decision, but he's doing it with a risk-free element essentially. He's not taking chances that endear yourself to fans and that kind of thing. And ultimately, if you're going to decision your way to a title shot, we saw it with Bilal Muhammad. I know Ian Garry has a lot more star power than Bilal, but you're going to be waiting.
Yeah, because he's sort of, who needs him club. He's very good. He's a technician, and he could make you look really stupid. He could have you chasing him and chasing shadows and missing stuff. But if he doesn't, you never see him in the pocket. I'd like to see him stand his ground, put his feet in, curl his toes in and have a scrap. I understand it's about, hitting and not getting hit. But as you say, it's the likes of us, the fans, that he needs to want to clamber to see him. And off the back of this performance, for me, I think he's missed a massive opportunity to put his name certainly in the mix to fight a top five. I don't see him beating any of the top five off the back of that performance.
Yeah, no, most definitely. What I believe the UFC will do down the line, because I believe he will get a title fight in the next 12 months, that they're going to sell the life out of it based on him with he was kicked out of Team Renegade or whatever the story was. So, there is a storyline, there's a narrative there that, Ian Garry and Leon Edwards, they'll push the life out of that. So, I believe it will happen regardless.
Dublin, maybe?
Potentially, I don't know how much adored or how much of a fan base Ian Garry genuinely has in Dublin. That's the he's fighting out of Brazil essentially now, isn't he? With like you say, he's at Charles Oliveira and Damian Myers training him. His partner's English Brazilian. I'm pretty sure he's he most certainly isn't on a level of nobody is, but a McGregor or say a Bisping in the UK. I don't think he's that level of fandom. So and especially if he's challenging, I'd say that would probably be a UK fight, if providing Leon still has the belt, obviously.
Yeah. I think that for me, I think Garry missed his shot in terms of fandom about a year ago, 18 months ago. I think he had an opportunity to sort of put himself in the title mix based on popularity and people, as I said, clambering to want to watch him. I think all that bit nonsense with his misses and the allegations, and then printing Jeff Neal's, when he put the mugshot on the t-shirt, just I think a lot of fans were turned off by that. And as you say, I think if he did a presser in Ireland, I don't think it'd sell out.
No, well, yeah, remains to be seen. But it's certainly interesting. He gets people talking. In fairness to him,
the kid can fight.
Listen,
and
he's
and
good fight.
Given the right circumstances at the right time, he could probably beat anyone. He could knock anyone out because his karate and his striking are elite. But unfortunately for me, he's got too many holes in his game to be talking the way he's talking. He's confident. I get that. But I don't believe he beats any of the top 5 at the minute.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's definitely got work to do there. So we'll see what's next for Garry and MVP. Following that was Chesson against Bueno Silva, which ended prematurely due to a horrible cut. Absolutely. That was, we've seen a couple of horrible cuts this weekend. Brendan Loughnane, obviously on the PFL on Friday night
and
too.
The boxing night as well, yeah.
Yes, Sonny Edwards in boxing. Yeah, didn't have a great one either. That one ended prematurely. Anthony Smith against Roman Dolidze. That was a fight at 205 pounds. Obviously, Dolidze moving up from.
He has fought. A lot of people don't know this. He's unbeaten at light heavyweight. I don't think he's ever lost at light heavyweight. It's not his first sort of.
Yeah, he has.
I think he made his debut at 205. I think.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he looked considerably undersized against Smith, in fairness, but it was a good performance, I thought, from Dolidze. He won 30-27 and 29-28 times 2 on the cards, which I thought was fair. Smith looked like
29-28. Yeah, I think Smith looked like he'd accepted a fight on short notice. That's what it looked like for me. I think it looked like he put a lot into round 1. And he just didn't look like he had all left. And he sort of coasted through the last 2, just defending takedowns and trying to not get knocked out. But it didn't look like Dolidze were in any sort of trouble. Even when he were getting caught clean, it wasn't really sort of stinging him as such. I think Anthony Smith just didn't look like he had it in the tank for me.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Obviously, both men were accepting it on short notice, but by far the conditioning and Roman Dolidze looked like he was training. Maybe Smith potentially not. I just want to put an end to all this talk about Anthony Smith and Alex Pereira too. There's been talk about that in the media, grappling. It's not a fight that we need to see. In a grappling match, Smith would have a chance, but I know it's all tongue in cheek as well. I know it's not.
Anthony Smith is a fantastic fighter. He's a dog. He's fought the best. He's fought a who's who, but he's just not good enough at that elite level. Given the right circumstances, as cliche as it sounds, anybody can beat anybody given the right circumstances, etc., etc. But skills for skills, for me. Anthony Smith is a world class operator. He'll comfortably hover around the top 10, top 15, top 20, but he's not gonna. He's not. I think his time's gone in terms of dominating people in the top 5. I think he's just sort of half out the door.
Yeah, I mean it with the greatest of respect possible to Anthony Smith. He's ultimately now turning into a gatekeeper. If you're not good enough, he will beat you and he will submit you and he will knock you out. If you are, unfortunately, you are going to get through him, and that's with the greatest respect possible because there's been some.
He's a great. Listen, he's a great fighter. He's done some amazing things. He does a lot of good things outside of the cage as well. He's got a popular podcast and he does a lot of desk work for the UFC.
It's amazing analyst.
He's very good in front of the camera. And like you say, the right circumstances, wrong time for certain opponents, and he beats you because his jiu-jitsu and his grappling are elite. But I just don't think he's got enough left. With all due respect, he's not good enough for me at this stage of his career to do anything other than beat up and comers or people that have sort of taken their eye off the ball and they're not 100%. He'll get fights. I think he's got 3 or 4 or 5 fights left, maybe, but I don't want to see him in there with the likes of Pereira and the top 5 unless he gets short notice at fights like this. I think, he didn't do himself. It wasn't a lopsided. It wasn't a 30-27 for me. It was a 29-28, but he lost the fight.
For sure. Yeah, I'd like to see Deleuze stay at 185, if I'm being honest. I think
he's not big enough. It's hard enough either for me.
Yeah.
Usually when they're smaller at a weight class, there's a reason why. They're usually either really long, I mean, small in terms of weight. So, you could see that he was a middleweight with a few extra, that not done a weight cut, basically.
Yeah.
I don't think he hits hard enough. He hasn't got that equalizer to justify him being a weight division higher than he should be at. So, yeah, I'd like to see him back down at 185 myself.
For sure. Next fight, the most cursed fight in UFC history outside of Khabib and Tony Ferguson, for sure. The co-main event of UFC 303. I think it was Khalil Roundtree against Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg. Ulberg versus Anthony Smith. And then I think we settled on Smith and Deleuze then were moved backwards. And then we got Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes, which
featherweight first.
Yes, at featherweight, which was then moved to lightweight, and then Ortega fell ill yesterday, and then 50K Dan Ige steps in on a couple of hours' notice off the couch. Absolutely,
165 was it?
Yeah, it was 160. Yeah, Diego Lopes. First of all, you got to give him all the credit in the world. He accepted a fight at 3 different weight classes within 3 days, something silly like that, and
it was crazy how it played out. To be honest, and with the utmost respect, I'm not a fighter. I talk a lot about fighting, but I'd struggle to fight sleep. No disrespect to Brian Ortega, but for me, I don't think he was confident. I don't mean this that like he was scared. He was talking about moving up to lightweight for weeks now. He's been talking about moving up to lightweight. He accepts the fight at 146, then it gets changed to lightweight sort of midweek, and then he gets this fever. They said he got fever. I just don't think I'm not saying he's scared, because none of them are scared. I just don't think he wanted this fight. I think it was too risky for him. I think he's got a plan at 155. I think he sees his run to the title, and I just think it was never going to happen.
Yeah, I think he looked shocking on the scales trying to make 145. So I think that there's a realization, and maybe he got ill from the weight cut, which is potential as well. Then there was a realization in the camp that was never going to happen, and then potentially when he was rehydrating, he still felt absolutely terrible, which again is completely plausible. And then if you're him, in his team, and again, we're speculating here, but does it make sense to go and take on a young bull up and coming? when you're feeling absolutely horrendous, for example. So again, we're speculating, might genuinely be sick, but
I don't think Brian was 100%, be that physical or mental. And I think going in against someone like Lopes, who is an absolute animal, you have to have it all. And if Ortega, like you say, if his immune system's low and he's caught a bug or a virus or a fever or whatever, you can't fight him, because he'd have got beat. He'd have got beat. Too risky for him now. A loss at this level for him sets him so far back.
He had nothing to gain in that fight, really. It was all.
I don't think he ever really wanted to take the fight anything less than 100%. I know they say fighters always go in at less than 100 with knocks and whatnot, but for whatever reason, or the team Ortega didn't want that fight.
No. Yeah, definitely. So moving on to the actual fight, Lopes started really well. And to be fair, Dan Ige held his own too. I scored it the same as the judges. All three, I think, had it 29-28 to Lopes. But Ige came on really strong in that last round. And Lopes was flagging for sure.
I think it's been a 5-round fight.
It would have been incredibly interesting.
Because you could see that Lopes is confident. He's a confident striker, isn't he? He's an absolute dog when he stands. I
saw that against Speak Yusuf in his last fight before that. Just came out and steamrolled him in a round.
Yeah, and I think he thought, because Ige is considerably smaller than him, I think he thought he would get him out of there. And when he didn't, I think he'd put a lot into it. He nearly had him with a rear naked choke, didn't he? In the first, was it the first where he had it?
I can't remember what round now, but it was either one or two. Yeah,
he had his back, didn't he? But he put a lot into his legs, because you could see Ige is pretty good on his ground game as well.
black belt himself.
Yeah, and I think Lopes really put a lot into that, and it took a lot out of his legs, and they just weren't underneath him from sort of halfway into the second, and definitely in the third, he looked really gassed, and I think for him, he's lucky it was a 3-round and not a 5-round fight.
Definitely, I'd like to see him against Jiri Rodriguez next. Lopes.
That's a good fight.
I think
that's a really good fight. Yeah, I
think that's a good natural progression. You know, you're going to see Max and Ilya probably fight for the belt either in Utah or the Sphere. I've been seeing online. So that's a better. You know, Ortega's moving up. You know, Volk is going to still be in the equation somewhere. Probably going to get a shot at the winner really of Max and Ilya. So
I'd like to see Arnold Allen.
Yeah, Arnold Allen's a good shout as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see him fight someone sort of in the top 5 to 7, maybe. Sort of Arnold Allen. I'm trying to think who else there is at featherweight, really, in that top echelon that he could fight. But I'd like to see him.
Losar as well's in there, but I think they're looking for him to get title honors or something. But you know, there's a few good fighters there at 145 that can't just skip the line. You know, these guys have been fighting.
No, he's got to put the work in. I think he's popular and he's a fan favorite, but ultimately he's not really fought anybody.
The Ortega fight was designed for him to.
That his breakout fight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't come off. No disrespect to Dan Ige, because he's a world class fighter, but he's not a top 5, top 7. And Lopes, struggled. Struggled is probably a strong word, but he
pulled up the rankings. There's some fun fights there in the top 10, mate. Calvin Kattar, Aljamain, Josh Emmett, Alan, Mosai Avalov, Yair, like we said, Lerone Murphy. Obviously, he's he just fought with Barbosa, didn't he? So there's some fun fights there for him. Excited to see what's next for.
I'd like to see him, like you said, tonight. I'm gutted that tonight didn't happen, because I'd have liked to have seen him get a breakout fight and then see how far how good he really is. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting fights for him. Can't remember if he called anybody out. I don't think he did.
I don't think so. Anyone and everyone. I think he wants to fight in the Sphere, though. He said on.
They all do, though, don't they? Every single fight.
I think Dana White's guaranteed them both. They're going to be on that card pretty much.
Spanish, but he's Brazilian. I always get confused.
Yeah.
But he's Brazilian, but speaks Spanish. I think he speaks fluent Spanish, fluent Portuguese. I think they all want to fight at the Sphere, don't they? But I think Dana did say that he is fighting at the Sphere.
He said in the post-fight presser, them two can have whatever they want, which is completely understandable.
Makes sense for it to be Rodriguez, then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's it on the Mexico Sphere. That makes all the sense in the world. 100%. So we'll see what's next for Diego Lopes, and credit
does he get McGregor?
Yeah, that's
at 155. I don't think Conor will make 155, but
no, I think Conor's future's 170. I think I just don't see him ever wanting to cut weight like that again. But yeah, so moving on to the main event, Alex Pereira against Jiri Prochazka, rematch of Madison Square Garden last November. Both men taking it on short notice after McGregor Chandler fell off. Pereira was nursing an injury in Australia doing a PR tour. Prochazka, like himself, he fought Alexander Rakic at 300. Pereira fought Jamal Hill, so both coming off good wins. I got it completely wrong. I thought Jiri would have a good chance last night. I really did. But you could see evidently early on how tentative he was compared to what he normally was. Pereira caught him, just let him know a couple of times, in the first round, and then just nailed him with that left hook on the bell. Would have been over if there was 10, 15 seconds left in that first round. Jiri was stumbling back to the corner, and I barely had a chance to look up after the second round started, and he just kicked his head into orbit, broke his foot or something off Jiri Prochazka's head, and Jiri was absolutely out with the follow-up shots. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. I was a little bit disappointed in Jiri, to be fair. I know he's got this erratic style, but he had his hands really low and he kept leaning in and sort of giving him his chin, and then just got clipped.
A lot of bravado and a lot of energy being used for things. Just didn't it wasn't a good performance by Jiri Prochazka.
Not for me. No, he didn't do himself any favors. I mean, I know Poatan is an elite, world-class fighter, striker, and you've got to mind your P's and Q's. But Prochazka just sort of played into his game. He sort of left himself wide open. He was staying in kicking range. He kept swapping. I think he started at southpaw, got clipped on the calf, went straight back to orthodox, had his hands really low. I know he fights with his hands really low, but he just wasn't. You could see the hook, the left hook. That's one of his best punches. You could see it just missing, just touching him, and then bam, he's down.
It's crazy. He's so relaxed, and he's carrying himself with such confidence. Israel Adesanya's win over him is aging like a fine wine, in fairness. But it makes me think that he clearly was absolutely dead at 185 pounds. He's not 185 pounds.
No, he was massive last night.
He was 230 pounds. He rehydrated to or something scary from 205. But then
massive, and I think that when he lost to Izzy, when he watched that fight, he sort of hurt Izzy, didn't he, to body, and then he just he wasn't I don't think he was expecting anything back. And yourself, it's the ones you don't see that knock you out. So a mixture of being drained at 185, and I think he thought he was on the verge of stopping Izzy. So he just wasn't ready for something coming back. I think if they fought again, he'd stop Izzy again.
Yeah,
it's better than Izzy.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy he was clearly bought into the UFC for the Israel Adesanya fight, and now he's one of the biggest stars the UFC has. It's quite a meteoric rise. And you think of the strength of schedule he's had to, Sean Strickland, Adesanya twice, Jan Blachowicz, Jamal Hill, Jiri Prochazka twice. That's a serious run. He's fighting the best in the world every time. He's only lost one fight during that run. That's incredibly impressive.
If he goes up to heavyweight,
well, that's the question now, isn't it? Let's discuss what is next in your opinion for Alex Pereira. We'd all love it, but well, that's the fight.
Let's be real, right? He's gone through 185. He's gone through. There's no one left at 205. People will say, the dick shot against Jamal Hill, and when the ref stepped in, he took a step forward, and Jamal didn't know he was in range, and blah blah blah. He's run through them all. I don't want to see him fight anybody else other than a top 5 heavyweight, either Aspinall, Blades, whoever wins that, Stipe and Jones. Have we had an official announcement on November then?
No, but it's not official, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen on that day.
The only fight I want to see is John Jones, Alex Pereira at Madison Square Gardens for all the marbles. Could they do? And bear with me here. Could they do a 205 pound double belt? Do it at 207 or 210, and 2 belts are on the line.
Yeah,
mad.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I just don't see Jones wanting to cut that kind of weight, and I think the advantage lies with John Jones as a naturally bigger man, having the 265 limit. So I couldn't see him.
I think John Jones will wrestle him and beat him. I think John Jones is too good. Yeah, but John Jones.
It'd be fascinating to see though, because you'd be waiting for Poatan's left hook to just come out of somewhere, wouldn't you?
I think if he hits anyone, I think anyone gets caught.
Anybody in the world, you are going down from that left hook.
But for me, it's heavyweight or bust for him now. I think the only fear I've got for Poatan is him hanging around at 205, taking his eye off the ball and getting caught.
To get beat. Yeah.
I see that.
I'm completely in agreement. I think it has to be now for heavyweight. It has to be. He's not getting any younger. Similar to Volkanovski when he fought Islam Makhachev. If you lose, you still got your 205 belt. You can still, if you want to keep making big money and fighting, your Jamal Hills, your Ankalaevs. I'm sorry, but no disrespect to Magomed Ankalaev. No one's salivating for.
I don't want to see it.
Fight Alex Pereira at the moment. What everyone's salivating for is. Fair enough if Jones goes to fight Stipe, go fight Tom Aspinall for the interim heavyweight championship and make your case to to get the John Jones fight. And then it's a great fight for Aspinall too, because he solidifies himself as the next guy for John Jones. I don't know if Jones is going to retire after Stipe and we get a double retirement. I don't know. I've got a feeling that he will, being honest. You know, I just don't know how much motivation John Jones has to fight anymore, but that fight against Stipe is a big fight, and he probably wins it with ease, in fairness. So I get where he's going to be financially, you know, he's going to get a great payday for that. You know, Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira, active young bulls. They're completely different kettle of fishes to a Stipe Miocic right now. You know, past Stipe is fair enough, you know, different ball game. But, you know, that's my opinion on it. And I know it's pessimistic. I know it's not what everyone wants to hear. But, you know, and I think we're fantasizing about Pereira against John Jones, unfortunately.
Yeah, I say it, but it's tongue in cheek. I mean, I'm a John Jones fan. I've been a John Jones fan since he made his debut. I don't see it. It's the only fight I want to see. But realistically, if he fights Stipe in November, he would, depending on how he comes out of that fight, it's going to be the middle of next year, 2025. John Jones is
fight week, isn't it? It's this time next year.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think, like you said, I think we might see a double retirement regardless of result. If that fight happens if it happens in November, I mean,
that's the other side. And ultimately as well, it's not, if Tom Aspinall does beat Curtis Blades as expected, it's not fair on him to have to keep waiting for a shot at undisputed heavyweight champion.
He should either get the fight or get the belt. I think Jones has sort of held the division up long enough. I know he's had a serious injury, but ultimately, people want to see him fight Stipe. And if he doesn't fight Stipe, he fights the winner of Blades. I think if Blades beats Aspinall, I nearly called him Tom Jones then. John Jones will never fight Curtis Blades. I just don't see that fight happening. I don't think
that's not financially viable.
Even if Blades won the interim, I still don't see it happening. I don't think Blades brings enough to the table in terms of fans and people clambering to see that. I definitely wouldn't stay up to watch that fight. It's just no disrespect to Curtis Blades. He's a fantastic world-class fighter, but I think it's Jones, Stipe, possibly retirement, and then it'll be Blades power time, won't it, next year sometime? Unfortunately
for Tom Aspinall, I don't see a world in which John Jones would want to fight him, but Alex Pereira has enough star power and momentum behind him right now that I believe and I believe it's a better style matchup for John Jones.
Yeah,
I believe that there is a potential, and I'm not confident on it. I as I said before, I think we'll get
a dream fight.
But I think that if Jones comes out and smokes Stipe Miocic and starts feeling himself, and you know, I think it's a possibility because of the star power that Alex Pereira has right now behind him. You know, he's the hottest ticket in town right now in the UFC. And the UFC would make a big offer for that, and it would do monumental numbers. You know, it would do Conor McGregor fight numbers, I think, if that was for undisputed heavyweight gold. So I think there's a chance in that. Unfortunately, I don't think John Jones would want to fight Tom Aspinall. I think that's pretty evident. We've seen the interactions with them. You know,
I think Jones sees it as a lose-lose situation. You know, he beats Tom Aspinall. He was expected to beat Tom Aspinall, but there's a massive chance he could lose. He sized him up, didn't they? They met at some.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
sized him up, and John Jones didn't look like he was. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, like he's scared, but you could see that he was like.
He's not salivating over the fight, is he? I think John Jones needs people to be walking up to the street and telling him he's scared of Alex Pereira or. You know, you're never going to beat Alex Pereira. I think that's what will get John Jones out of bed in the morning to do his road work. I think that's the kind of guy that and the competitive nature that John Jones has. So it's fascinating to see what's going to happen over the next 12 to 18 months in that heavyweight division. There's lots going on, but Alex Pereira needs to go and get himself in the mix. You know, Conor McGregor ultimately would have had the best chance, I believe, of being a freeweight champion. I think he could have beat Tyron Woodley at that time when he was 145, but he fought Floyd Mayweather, didn't he? And then, you know, he had the timeout and the Khabib thing. You know, it's never the time again. But Alex Pereira is probably going to have the best chance in a long time of being a 3-division UFC champion, which has obviously never been done before.
No, I'd love to see it just for the, you know, the prestige. And I think a lot of people have sort of written him off as this one-dimensional overhyped kickboxer, and I think he's showing that his grappling's not the best, but his takedown defense is absolutely brilliant. You've got to get him down to worry him, and getting him down is not as easy. He's got some of the best kicks. And he doesn't even telegraph his kicks or punches. So powerful, and he throws.
He's got effortless power. Yeah, it's effortless power. What a job Glover Teixeira has done with him as well. Absolutely
amazing. It's amazing. I mean, even if he doesn't go up to heavyweight, he could retire tomorrow and be one of the greatest to ever do it in terms of what he's done in the UFC in such a short time. The people
arguably the greatest combat athlete of all time. Arguably,
he's definitely really up there. In terms of pound for pound now, he's definitely top 3 for me.
For sure.
And I think if he does go up to heavyweight and becomes a 3-weight world champion, then he's got to be sort of talked about in that Mount Rushmore as one of the greatest of all time because of what he's done. Certainly coming off the back of that knockout against Izzy was cold. Finished in terms of finished people's careers in terms of confidence. He came back in his next fight like it had never happened.
Took on Jan Blachowicz, one of the most fitted strikers in the 205 pounds.
And he was a little bit tentative and apprehensive in that fight, but he got the result, and he's just flown since then. It's
he looks incredible now. He really does. So lots to uncover then from 303. Jason, we got UFC 304 coming up, which obviously we just spoke about Aspinall quite a bit there. Leon Edwards against Bilal, and then Aspinall Blades, and we've got lots of the other UK fighters on there, so we'll have to get something sorted for that, mate. But
definitely
that'll do it for podcast 1 on the MMA show. We'll have to get more in. Thanks as always, Jason, for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate. Please subscribe, anybody who's watching. We do appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
Speak to you soon, brother. Have a good day.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Bye.